Letitia, I'll just explain your project a bit too before we get over there. If you remember, Letitia's at the Fashion Institute of Technology. She's been putting together her own sort of museum, a walk through time, looking at fashion at different times, and she's bringing it into an online course where they're looking kind of at what happens to fashion at different points in history. Like when you go into a war, what's different about fashion during wartime versus during the Roaring '20s. So we'll go over and see some of her work there. But Letitia, if you're all set, Lee's going to show us around a bit. And Lee, I'll have to admit, I've been in virtual spaces for a long time, but I'm still not real good at walking.
Right. So basically, Letitia, this is, I call it an open source, open educational practice museum. And it's basically, because we have the open educational resources, we have OpenSim. This is an educational resource, but it's also, through my YouTube videos, it's kind of like a catalog of all of my experiences as an educator and designing the educational space and learning about OpenSim and the open resources within OpenSim. So I really wanted educators to feel comfortable in seeing the possibilities of these areas, finding the resources. So this is where I've created this. A lot of places already have basically how to walk, how to move. So this came from an open resource island where the camera shop, the movement, virtual comms, these rooms were already designed to help newcomers with how to move, how to use their camera controls, how to use their audio controls. So I've taken this, and this was used originally for a huge conference. And you could go to different conference areas where people gave their exhibits. So I've put my own exhibits in here, and those exhibits include educational curriculum examples, they include badging examples, they include free resources I've built. And as if you walk over here, you'll see, of course, you get the welcome, and you get just the informational board. And I've got a...
As the teachers say, we made a wonderful video overview too.
Yep. So I moved things a little bit, but this is the 4-island region, and these are all landmarks. Now, this 4-island region is constantly going to change, but I'm going to keep the main island, the educational resource area, always the same, but exhibits may change. So I've already taken out the Mirror Kingdom. Now, in the Mirror Kingdom place is a slideshow of what used to be there, and I have a video online of what used to be there. So I may bring it back in the future, but that whole upper part right now is another project for another class of an immersive educational environment. So in the regards of the museum, in the virtual world, you're always changing things out. So I would make sure I took a video, create a slideshow presentation, and put that together for display somewhere, and then create tutorials of how I built it, what the challenges might be. These are all types of exhibits that this museum will feature. So if you come over here to...
Shirley, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I saw when you were showing this before, how did you've got a picture there, and you have different hyperlink hotspots, or you have teleports. How did you make those? You made buttons, and can you just explain that? I don't want to click one of them right now because I think that'll teleport me, right?
No, it won't teleport you. It gives you a landmark.
Oh, okay.
So this is a resource that is really easy to create and recreate. All of those thumbnails, thumbtacks, are separate objects. So basically, when you want to edit this, you edit the surface with a new picture, and you unlink the thumbnails. All the names are in the thumbnails. You put in new landmarks, new names, put the thumbnails back in where you want them to go, and then you can update this really easily.
Uh-huh.
So if you just change one area, instead of creating a whole new huge map, you just screenshot your new map, put it in as a texture on the surface, and you only have to change one or two landmark areas if you change something on the island. You don't have to keep rebuilding a new landmark sheet every single time you change something.
Letitia, that'll help you, and certainly I'm taking mental notes. But you said, okay, so you made note cards that had teleports, that had landmarks. How did you get the note card?
It's
you
not.
Don't have to give me
it's not an actual note card. You go to an area that you want landmarked, and then you use your Firestorm controls to landmark this area. Then you make sure you rename it what you want to remember as your landmark, and then when you put it into the note card giver, it gives out the landmark. It doesn't even have to be it's a landmark giver script. It doesn't even have to be a note card. It just will give them the landmark. So you put the landmark in there, and then you put the landmark giver script in there. So when they click on it, open source. It was just one I found in open source. I didn't have to write that one.
Oh, okay. I'll have to go get one of those.
So in my script area, I think I might have, or I might have picked it up in an object. But in my script area, instead of just reproducing all of the scripts that are available and passed around, because a lot of those scripts are all the raw scripts, and they don't work. So what I've been doing is I tweak them to get some of them to work. I simplify some of them. And then the ones that I've been putting in my scripting area are my favorite ones for education. And they're ones that I've either written or edited so that they're more simple.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm looking forward to this. I was glad to come in this because I've always wanted to get over your island, and I don't have enough time. So, Letitia, I'm taking good mental notes here, and I'm trying to screencast this too.
Yep.
So that I can learn. Say Lee, I think, too. And Letitia, say Lee is really the nexus of understanding so much stuff. So I'm hoping that others will use her, hire her as a consultant, do things like that for their own training.
Well, this,
as they're expanding.
This semester, I realized from last semester and this semester, I realized a big problem I was doing in design, creating all these wonderful areas, but no one knew they were here and no one knew how to access them when they come. The average time a person spends in a virtual world is 3 minutes if you don't give them a reason to stay. So I really realized quickly that I didn't have the navigational tools and I didn't have enough informational aspects right in the beginning. People don't want to wander around and explore and happen across stuff. So one thing that has been a recent add is this one over here. And these are my visual navigational boards. Because to me, if people don't know what the area offers, then they're not going to explore to find them. And I put transports directly to upstairs and downstairs in this area so they can kind of get a quick image of what they're going to find. And then they know, I have been looking for gaming resources. I've been looking for mini games. I've been looking for information about, NPCs. So then they'll know to go to the train station and go directly to that spot. Now the train station has, in addition to the teleports with just a name, I haven't perfected them, but I've put in note cards so that instead of just assuming people are going to randomly explore, they can click on the information sign and get a note card that tells them exactly what is in that area, which that way they know whether they're interested in going there or not. Because once a person loses interest, often they'll just leave rather than continue to explore.
I know people are busy, they're distracted. And I know you've worked too on the concept of, whether you're going to run this as a course where people have to do certain things every week, whether you're going to run it as people show up and create their own course. So I think, you've got the content, and then you just have to figure out the course piece, which really is the big challenge.
Well, you see, this isn't meant as a course. this is meant as a museum. It's basically to inspire other people of the possibilities and give them resources. So if they come in here and they see the Pragmatics slides, which is behind us, they can look at that and they can see, oh, this is how a course might be run. This is an informational board of how you might be able to run a course. Then they can go to the Pragmatics area and not really, I'm not going to be holding a course there for other people. I might use it, like I said, this space will probably be used with my one student. But they can see this as an workable example. They can participate in it just to get a feel for it. They can copy the materials and they can use those copied materials to build their own curriculum based on these types of design ideas.
Mm-hmm. So maybe when you're going around, you could teach, say, Letitia and I, how we could actually get these copies. So,
well, everything is set to copy. The only thing is that most scripts, and I've been trying to make sure that everything I set to copy, I also remember to go into the script and set the script permissions to being able to be copied, which is why I started to create areas that had the blank non-player characters and the scripts separate, is because people were coming in and copying my non-player characters, but I hadn't made sure that the scripts were also copyable. So when they would bring them back to their island, they'd have these NPCs that had locked in scripts that they couldn't edit. So that's why I provided a blank NPC area where you could go and you could collect the people without any scripts in them. And there's tutorials in there of how to edit the people too. So you can actually take one non-player character and edit them to look different. So you can make them unique for your own self.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And but Cindy, I tried to do that, and you pointed out on my island I had something too. Now, if somebody else builds on my island, I'm having some students do that right now. So I gave them permission to build. They, though, when I do that export, and I know I don't think Elon likes us to do that as much as you and I do it, but I want to be able to save what they've created. So they have to go in and set those permissions too, right?
Yes, because when my daughter builds on the island, if she doesn't give me permission, the only thing I can do is return to sender. I can't edit it, I can't move it, nothing. Unless, now what I used to do is, because she was younger, I would sign in as her and change those. But yes, you have to show them not only to make everything copyable in the mainframe, but they also have to click on any internal, if they have any scripts in it at all, and they have to also set those scripts to full permissions. Because if you only set the object to full permissions, the object will be, you may be able to copy the object, but then after that it'll be non-transferable and you can't make any edits to it because it has scripts in it that are non-editable.
Oh, I see. Have you tried, though, if, say, your daughter, who isn't the owner of the island, or whoever it is, and you then export it, the whole island, and then try to bring it up later, do those things stay on the island? I had problems where they kind of, they didn't port over.
No, that they won't unless it's set for full permissions, and because then what you do is basically you take a copy of it and then you put it back in the island as something you own.
Yeah.
Now the creator remains the same, so the creator will always be the student, but you've taken a copy of it so it goes with your island.
Okay. Yeah, I had a little trouble with that. Saley, do you have any questions? Excuse me, Letitia, you have any questions for Saley right now? She might have to type them in. Oops, I'm trying to copy this and I've got to move something. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think say Lee has created a wonderful resource for all of us, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to go around and see some.
Now that I've had the epiphany of creating good mapping and good navigationals, instead of people coming here for 3 minutes, they come here for 20 minutes, 2 hours, and then they come back on another day for another 20 minutes and 2 hours, because that's how long it takes to see everything on the island. It really literally takes 2 to 4 hours, especially because everything is able to be interacted with. I have a tutorial online about my Magic 8 Ball, which gives the script and it tells you how to make it. So, I even created a Magic 8 Ball. And it was designed after another Magic 8 Ball somebody else created, but I recreated it using my own images, and I just used Paint Shop to create a texture. And so I create a tutorial to show people how easy it is to create interactive objects. Whenever I create something, I try to either plan on doing a tutorial on it, like the badge creator. I have a badge in here that when people click on it, they can have the badge. And then they can choose to just edit the image. But in my tutorial, because if they just copy, what I found is if they just copy it, then I'm always the creator. So what I hope to be doing more and more of is create things from scratch in my tutorials so people can be the creator of their own objects. That way they can actually download the objects and save them rather than always rely on just editing something somebody else creates.
Can you explain us a little bit about how the badge creator will work? Not even so much the technical pieces, but like supposing Letitia wants to give a badge to her students, or I want to give one to my students. How would that work? I'm used to like the Credly badges. Tell me a little bit about how these would work.
Well, basically all a badge is in this world is an object that you can wear on your chest. So when you click on that, all it is a prim with an image on it, and you can make them as fancy as you want and put your own images on it. And then you wear it, and you wear it as a badge on, and it attaches to your pec actually. And basically what that would do is, basically people can, if you have a classroom of students and one of them has a certain badge, they have bragging rights. They can wear it and come in here as a class and, hey, look at me, I got my badge before you got your badge, So that
So do you as the badge giver you then kind of indicate the avatar that you're giving it to?
So if you were going to use this in an application, you wouldn't have like you could do a trophy badge giver at the end of a game, or like a trophy giver like I've done before. And I even have one person picked up my free trophies, and then they emailed me because they said, well, they wanted to give the trophy away, but once they gave the trophy away, it was the shout out trophy where you type the person's name in and it shouts out the winner and the person's name is displayed. Well, that trophy had that specific script. So I created a tutorial to remove the shout out interactive script and just put in and showed in the tutorial how to just put the name of the person in as a texture into that small slot. So then what he could do is he could actually give out the trophy itself after the fact to that person, and it would always display their name rather than being a shout out trophy. So these are the types of things that when educators say, hey, how did you do this? Or hey, I've got this, but it doesn't quite work for me. That's why I created that tutorial to show him how you could create a trophy, have the avatar's name, and then they could take that trophy, it'd be theirs, and they could display it in their own world or their own space. The same thing with a badge. You would give them out individually to the avatars as you wanted to award them.
And Letitia, I don't think we're getting to see your comments. I don't know if you're pressing the enter button, because I've seen you type a few times, but I haven't seen things come through. So I don't know whether you just didn't type it or whether I'm missing it. But I think if you don't press enter, it doesn't come through. Say, Lee, have you ever considered putting things in the store, and even if you don't want to charge, But I know in the store, and I've never put anything in the store, you have, you can, I think, put a hyperlink in that would go to a video. Okay.
Yeah, and that's what I've done. I've put things in the store, or even put note cards in the objects when they buy them that have hyperlinks in the note cards to the videos.
Okay.
Also, what
Can you use that as a way to get people to know more about even your island? I don't know if people go to the marketplace.
Yeah, I do use that. But basically, not a lot of people buy from the store. I think I've gotten pretty good. I've probably gotten 15 items that they've sold, because the lowest you can go is 10 KC. And I don't do the money amount, because the lowest you can go on a dollar amount is $1. So I'm thinking that maybe in the future I might offer that, but then my KC goes up to 300. Badges can't be used to tell if a person takes a quiz, but I do have quiz scripts that would award the badge if they got. You can choose in the quiz whether or not, if they get 80% or 90% or 100%, that after they get the quiz and reach the level that you want them to, then they can be awarded the badge. And then if they're wearing the badge, you know they take the quiz. But there's because the old quizzes used to be able to email the instructor, and as things have progressed and people haven't re-scripted things, the emailing aspect hasn't worked out as well.
Right, we'd have seen that.
But yes, you can have the quiz award a badge as a prize, and then you know that they've passed that quiz.
And do you have among your wonderful scripts some quiz scripts? I purchased one, but haven't really figured it out yet.
I've got at least two different examples in the immersion simulation. I think somewhere I might have the quiz examples, but I'm not sure if I actually have a room yet for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think Letitia's been working on wanting to build some into her area. So should we go to Letitia's now, or do you want us to visit other places before we leave yours, Saley?
I think it's basically the only other thing that I've really learned that I've been improving on is like over in this section, which is the poetry and poster session, is people are kind of nervous about just copying everything they see that they want. And also I wanted to be able to put up things that couldn't that other people had displayed, like my daughter's art and my sister-in-law's art. So what I did is I created these ones like this. It actually says free to copy, script added by MVM inside picture. This one's free to copy, script in picture. That way people know that they can copy them, because I originally assumed a lot. I assumed that people were going to come here and just, copy whatever they wanted. Well, people often won't do that because they're so nervous about upsetting someone if they've copied something in error. So I've gotten out of my head the assumption aspect of design, that you basically have to assume that unless you tell them or show them, that they're not going to do it, because they just won't know.
Mm-hmm. Plus, a lot of people, unless they've been through some basic tutorials, aren't even aware of the copy commands. Mm-hmm. Now you've gone through, you figure bottom line, people come in and they have to know how to move their avatar a little bit. Especially in education areas, teachers are likely to just tell students to go there and sit, so figuring that, I've had to teach people how to sit, how to move, so
yep.
I think even to assume that people know what a copy command is, sometimes, they need even that kind of basics.
Exactly. And this island has all those tutorials. It was, rather than recreating the wheel, that's why I chose this island, because they have all those tutorial rooms that the organization created. Actually, it was the OpenSim Community Conference created this originally for one of their displays. And
Meaning all of these buildings around us and everything?
yeah, I mean, I edited them and I tweaked them all, but all of these rooms that I've added to, the inventory lodge, the virtual communications, the movement, they were all created to serve the OpenSim conference. And in my credits, I have what year that was, and that's when they had the military presentations here. Yeah, they had Moses here. So they had all that, and they had created such fantastic rooms that it's like, okay, I'll just add everything that I have, and I found all these hidden areas. So I just edited it and added it, and it's a free sim. So I downloaded the sim and I started from there, and so that people who have never been here can learn how to copy, how to get dressed, how to, once they copy or buy an object, all the informational boards are already pre-created, and that's what open source is all about. It's not about recreating the wheel. It's about reusing what other people create to solve, to accomplish your goals.
Mm-hmm. Now, so would I be able to go and download this whole, maybe not so much island, this whole section? So supposing I I love the buildings here. I think they are easy enough to get around, but they still look very grand. Would I be able to get the buildings or just the artifacts in it?
No, you actually download the whole island, which is that one square, which is the main island on the map. And it has the train station in it. It has everything in it. All of the items in it, except the stuff that I've changed and I've edited, because I've actually taken out little bits and pieces here and I've put in pieces. So you can actually download the whole orientation center and all of their rooms with all of the resources in them, including all of the avatars and all of the clothing, and then I've added a lot to it.
Well, that's great. Well, now, so when you say you do that, because I'd love to do that myself and play with this and put in some of my own pieces, would that be something that you would allow? That I took it and kind of, took the bones and then put in my own stuff. Is that something that would be acceptable to you?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you go to Outworlds, you can get this island, this whole resource center, and it wouldn't, like I said, I've added it to myself, but it's open resource. So you could actually, how you've created your 4 sections on your island. If you like in the future, if you expanded to a 16 island, you could put that island somewhere in that 16 island area, and you could use everything that's in it from the island itself, and edit it like I've done.
One of the developers that works with Kitely a lot, I found 4 islands between Outworlds and Zadaru, and I paid her $20 through Kitely credit, and she put the 4 of them together for me. Now, if I were really smart, I'd know how to do that myself, but I don't. Where you go back to the open source. If you're an IT person, you can do that. But
Yep.
For me, it was worth just paying the $20.
See, I figured out how to do that, but you have to get your Open Simulator in your home computer to work. So, and I've had constant problems with mine. So, and when I get it to work, it only works part of the time, because you have to put them together in your own Open Simulator on your own computers, and then you can upload them. So it's worth the $20.
Yeah, every time I say I'm going to try to learn it and write it into tutorials, and I just give up. So Letitia, I wouldn't suggest that. But I keep on trying to get between Letitia and Jen. They're an institute, a fashion institute of technology, where they should be able to hook up with some of the developers who do the 3D Blender stuff and some of these other, IT type, and start getting them to work with Letitia, work with Jen to really move to that next step. So I think as they do that. Well.
So what is your island name, Letitia?
Yeah, we're going to go there now.
Yeah, that's why I want the island name so I can put it in my Finder.